Alright guys, with Future Saga confirmed to be the theme for at least part 1 of the global Dokkan celebration, I'm going to go through all the possible EZAs we could see, because the EZA potential for even just a part 1 or even a full Future Saga themed GDC is crazy. And just in case Future Saga is only for one part of the celebration, I am going to only just focus on the units from the Goku Black Arc that fit one part of content. And also, I'm not going to focus on side EZAs just because Dokkan are very hit and miss whether or not they actually do them. And if we did, we'd probably be here for quite a while because of the amount of potential there actually is. So let me know down in the comments how you're feeling for Future Saga for at least part 1 or part 2 of the GDC, and what EZAs you want to see from a Future Saga theme. Immediately, there are some great choices for EZAs, and I'm seeing in LR Fusion Zamasu and EZA I need to be seeing for GDC, whether that is a part 1, part 2, or Future Saga being the entirety of the global Dokkan celebration. And straight next to him, we have Super Saiyan Blue, Vegeta, and Trunks. Probably one of my most anticipated EZAs in the whole of Dokkan. One of the best aging units. That also needs to be there. I'm going to shout out LR Future Gohan and Trunks. If we get the whole celebration be Future Saga themed, they could easily slip in there as well. But because we're focusing on the Goku Black Arc, we are going to give them a miss. We have the first of our super EZAs, the free-to-play LRVB. I think for a free-to-play unit, I think is a good and very massive shout. We then have Super EZA, Rose, and Zamasu. I would love to see that. I want to give my boy Rose all the love in the world. Scrolling down here. Again, I know I'm not including them, but a huge shout out to these two units right here. The Strength Mai and Base Goku Black. If Dokkan do decide to do some side EZAs, I don't see why not. I don't see why they couldn't pick up EZAs. We have some more Super EZAs with Int Sword of Hope Trunks, Tech Fusion Zamasu, Super Saiyan Blue Int Vegeta, Fizz VB, and AGL Rose. So even while focusing on the criteria I've decided to do, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total EZAs and Super EZAs we could see for even just part 1, let alone the entirety of GDC. I told you, the EZA potential is crazy. So starting with in LR Fusion Zamasu and EZA, as I said, I need to be seeing in this celebration, whether it's part 1 or the entirety being Future Saga themed, he needs to be there. You know, if we are going to get a brand new Zamasu unit that is a reversible exchange or is just a fusing unit, immediately he will link very, very well to that unit, especially once fused. But also, if done right, his EZA could be huge to the brand new category and full 220 leader skill that brand new Zamasu or Rose unit will be giving out. So immediately, 18 key and 12 key SA effects are very, very good. They're both the exact same with that 50% attack and defense raise. Only difference being on 12 key, it's lowering by 20% attack rather than 30. This could actually just stay the same. But for the sake of, you know, kind of speculating what the EZAs could do, this could easily be a massively 100% attack and defense raise. This could stay at 50%. Or we could see some changes to the turn conditions, either on 18 or 12 key, depending on if the values do change. We could see these on either or change from 1 turn to maybe multiple turns, you know, maybe 3, maybe 4 turns of a 50% attack and defense raise, or maybe 100% here, and then this can be for 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 turns on the 50%. Other than that, I think the SA effects are fine. If they want to put some support on the SA effects as well, I'm completely here for it. He does have an entrance animation, which is required to have a Potara category ally attacking in the same turn, which will give Fusion Zamasu an additional key +1 per key sphere obtained for 5 turns. Again, this doesn't really need to change. If you want to give him more key per key sphere obtained for 5 turns, by all means, as an LR, I'm completely here for it. Especially because he doesn't really get any key at the start of turn. So we could up that to maybe 2 or 3. And then we could maybe update the turn condition to maybe turn 6, 7 turns, something like that. But either way, I'm fine with the way it is. Maybe we could add some stats in there, attack and defense, crit chance, and additional something. Basic effects is a orb changer. He will randomly change key spheres of certain type to ink key spheres. Very nice. Base attack and defense is 100%. We can just update those numbers. Also give him some starter turn key +2, 3, or 4. Especially with an LR, the more key, the better. It's going to be more useful. Especially because Fusion Zamasu is very attached to getting bonuses for hitting certain levels of key. So as I said, maybe some more on the entrance animation and definitely some starter turn key as well. He also has base 20% damage reduction. That could also stay the same unless we're going to get damage reduction elsewhere in the passive. But then we could also just update those numbers. Maybe 30, maybe even 40%, 50 at a push. Let's go balls to the wall, Dokkan. Give him 60. Why not? I mean, that's probably a little bit far, a little bit extreme. But I'm here for it. I want this guy's EZA to be insane. And then when attacking with 12 or more key, does get 50% attack and defense. We could also maybe give him some more of that. Update those numbers. And then maybe when attacking with 12 or more key, maybe he could have an additional in there, like 30, 50, 70% chance to do so. Maybe some crit chance, or maybe even some more damage reduction. So maybe we have this stay at 20 or update it to 30. And then when we're attacking with 12 or more key, maybe there's another 20, 30% damage reduction on top of that. Then when attacking with 18 or more key, there's a guaranteed additional super. Again, maybe we could sprinkle some more stats in there, some more attack and defense, really beef him up, have him do some extra damage, have him being an amazing slot 2, slot 3 unit, especially post super. So maybe we could do that. And again, 18 or more key, let's sprinkle some more damage reduction in there. Again, we could leave the base at 20 or 30. We could then add 20 or 30 damage reduction in here. And then another 20, 30% damage reduction with 18 or more key. I want to beef him up. Then when attacking with 24 key, we could again add some damage reduction in there, but I don't want to go too crazy, but that is also a possibility. I think if that was to be the case, this needs to stay at 20 and then it's going to be 20% each time, giving him a total of 80% damage reduction. But it seems a little bit crazy, so maybe I'll give the damage reduction on 24 key a miss. But attacks are effective against all types, which is great. So that means we don't need any crit here. Maybe there could be another chance of additional super in there as well. Because, you know, to go with the damage reduction, you know, with multiple additionals, we could really beef Zamasu out, you know, with stats. 50% attack and defense here, or if we're going by what I want to change it to, maybe multiple turns. That's going to take a couple turns to build up. But then also, could be 100% attack and defense if we do up the numbers. But then per additional, we're getting 50% attack and defense each time at least here. So maybe an additional could go in there as well. Maybe a chance, as I said, to do that. Then for every attack received, Zamasu does get 2% damage reduction within the turn, up to 10%. This is also another reason why I'm going to leave this without having damage reduction, or maybe just one of these along the way. We kind of missed the damage reduction out, considering he is gaining damage reduction for being hit. Again, this could stay the same or be updated ever so slightly. Maybe this goes up to 10% or 20% instead of 10%. And then we could either leave this at 2, or maybe we could update this to say 4%. That way it's 5 hits and it works out the same, just a bit more. Each time the character receives an attack in battle, he'll gain key +1 up to 5. Again, this could also just stay the same. Maybe throw in some stats there as well. Maybe some crit chance build up on top of that. Same here. We could have some crit build up. Or maybe we could just update the numbers. And then every time the character receives 5 or more attacks in battle, he'll recover 10% HP at the end of turn. Again, I'm completely fine with that staying the same. Or maybe we could give him a little bit more. 20, 30, 40% HP healing. Considering this team might not have a lot of healing attached to it. Maybe Zamasu could provide that. I think 40's probably pushing it a little bit, so maybe like 20, 30%. And even then, maybe we can have some dodge. Maybe we could give him some dodge to have that damage reduction. You know, maybe for every attack received, he also gets 10% dodge chance or 20% dodge chance in total. And then maybe every time the character receives 5 or more attacks in battle, he then has guaranteed dodge or an extra set of dodge chance at the end of the turn to trigger next turn. I feel like that would be pretty good. It gives him more of a defensive outlet. You've got damage reduction, you've got the stats, and then also you've got some dodge chance in there as well. And then to round out his passive, when receiving an unarmed super attack, Zamasu will have a 70% chance to nullify it and counter with tremendous power, which once again, I'm completely fine with that staying the exact same way it is. I think the only way you can really change that is if, you know, you have a 70% chance to do it. Maybe if you're below a certain HP threshold, or the enemy is below a certain HP threshold, kind of like SSJ4 Gogeta from the Year 7 LRs, maybe it's guaranteed. But then with the way I'm going with the EZA, that seems just maybe a tad bit broken, but it'll be something sick to see. Moving on to another EZA I really want to be seeing from this celebration, and that is Blue, Vegeta, and Trunks. One of the best aging units I think we've ever gotten in Dokkan, so this is one of those that I 100% will see on the timeline if they were to EZA. Surely Dokkan can't fumble this, and I don't see how they would. Back in the day, they were an amazing slot 1 unit, and that's exactly what I want them to return to being, especially because we don't have many just out and out brick walls in slot 1 anymore, especially with how hard enemies are hitting. So that's exactly where I want Vegeta and Trunks to be once again. So of course they only stack on 18 key. Immediately this has to update. 20%? No, not even 30. I'm talking at least 50% attack and defense stacks on the 18 key SA effect. I would also like, which I don't know how likely this is to change, this to also be a stack. This be 50, this be 30, I would be fine with. If they're not going to change this SA effect to a stack, I definitely want this changed to 50, and then this could stay the same for just one turn, or maybe it could be 50% attack and defense for the turn as well. Especially because the additionals these two get early on, and even later on during a fight or a stage, but especially early on when they're the most vulnerable, considering they only stack on 18 key, and you can only get one of those a turn. The stacking it's going to take some time, so I need the additionals to beef them out, which is why I would really like the 12 key SA effect to also stack, but if it doesn't, I want those numbers increased, Dokkan. I really do, which is why I also want to give them quite a few built-in additionals. So they also have an entrance animation, which when a bond of parent and child category ally is attacking in the same turn, they will gain key +2, 70% defense, and guaranteed guard for 5 turns. Once again, this is another one where I don't mind this staying the exact same. You could update it, give it some more defense, give them some more key. You can increase the turn limit from 5 to 6, maybe even 7. And then maybe add in some attack in there as well, stats-wise, crit chance, and additional. Because we're focusing on those additionals, on those 12 key, if they aren't going to change to a stacking effect, maybe keep this the same, maybe throw in some attack, maybe update the stats. This can stay the same. You can, as I said, increase the turn limit, but maybe add in a 50% chance or 70% chance of an additional super attack in this entrance animation. Maybe even guaranteed if Dokkan are feeling generous. As I said, those 12 key additionals are going to be very important considering they only stack on 18 key. So they do start with key +2, which again could stay the same, or they could update those. Attack and defense of 140 could stay the same, or they can update those if we're getting attack and defense throughout the passive elsewhere. They also have a built-in additional which has a 30% chance to become a super attack. Update that, make that 50 or 70%, at least 50, 70%, great. And then maybe on super attack or when attacking, Vegeta and Trunks can get another load of attack and defense by X amount, you know, 60, 80, 100, 120%, you know, depending on where the base gets increased to. I could easily see this go up to 200%, you know, again, especially because they only stack on 18 key. Then for every attack received, they do get key +1 up to 5, defense of 15% up to 75%, and a chance to crit of 7% up to 35%. Now, because the crit chance build up is for them being hit and it goes up to 35%, to give them a little bit of extra damage output, especially because they're probably not going to be putting out crazy numbers. They were never insane damage dealers, but I want them to super attack multiple times while being just out and out slot 1 unit. I'm going to have this remain the same. You could easily give them some more defense. Again, you could add attack to that as well. And again, the key could also stay the same as well, or just update the numbers. But then also, I want them to have a base crit chance or build up crit chance by performing super attacks or attacks. Either way, one of the 3 works for me. Either base per attacks performed or per super attacks performed. With the amount of possible additionals this unit could have, I'm completely fine with it being per super attack performed. We're going to build up crit chance by either 5 or 7% to basically give us a total of another 35%. At least that way, once that's built up, and also this is also built up for every attack received, they will have a total of 70% chance to crit as well, which means majority of the time, more often than not, they'll be critting with multiple super attacks, even though they're not putting out crazy numbers like 40, 50 mil. So it ends up balancing out. Then as the first attacker in the turn, they do get 70% attack and defense. Let's up that. Let's really increase that. Really pad out the stats. And then they also get guaranteed guard as well. I'm looking at that right now. And to be an out-and-out slot 1 unit, I don't think it's actually enough. Which is why I'm going to include a similar thing that I did with Fusion Zamasu. And I want to see some damage reduction or dodge in there as well. Unfortunately, them just having pure guard, unless they're getting tons and tons and tons of stats, because of how hard enemies are hitting nowadays, you can go anywhere from 3 to 4, maybe even up to 6 mil. Especially because we're undoubtedly going to be getting some brand new, very difficult content for GDC as well. I want to see some damage reduction, whether that is base damage reduction to go with the guard, whether that is based on them being in slot 1, they get damage reduction and guaranteed guard, or maybe they have damage reduction or dodge build up literally for also being hit, and then also a small amount in the basic effects. That way, combine that together, you could go anywhere from 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% damage reduction, or even dodge chance once they're combined together. Either way, I want Vegeta and Trunks to be an out-and-out slot 1 god. On to our first Super EZA of the video. Of course, SA effects will not be touched on Super EZA, so we completely ignore these. However, just like Vegeta and Trunks, except for Vegito Blue, he does stack on 12 key rather than 18 key. So once again, additionals are going to be very, very important. And what I'd want from a Super EZA like this is I'd want him to be a choice. I don't need him to take over difficult content by storm, but I want him to be a contender. I want him to be choice. He doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need to be unstoppable. He's a free-to-play unit after all, but I want you to consider him for teams. So attack and defense, we can up that. He also has a medium chance of key +5. That can stay the exact same the way it is, or you give him some increased chance or key. I also want him to start with key. Because we have a chance of 5 and then we have more key down here, we could even easily start him with like a key +1, key +2 situation. As I said, update these numbers more importantly. And then I want a base additional chance of either 50 or 70%, because these 12 key additionals are going to be key for him stacking. Especially because SAFX cannot be changed, he's only getting 20%. So the additionals, just like Vegeta and Trunks, are very, very important, and we need to do loads of them, and he needs to stack up fairly quickly. So I want a 50 or 70% chance of an additional super in his basic effects. For every super attack performed, he does get 10% attack and defense up to 50. Let's up this, just increase it. I'm not sure what to, but increase it. And then for every super attack performed, maybe he also builds up some dodge chance, or maybe he also builds up crit chance. Maybe for every super attack performed, he gets somewhere in the realms of like 5-7%. That way we can have 35% dodge chance or 35% chance to crit. The less HP remaining, he does get key up to 10. Again, if we're going to go crit here, which I think I'm going to lean into for damage, the less HP remaining, maybe he gets more crit chance. And again, we can combine that together, and then maybe he'll have guaranteed crit, or essentially just high chance to crit. And by high chance, I don't mean exactly 50, I mean something like 70. Then attacking with 18 or more key, he has an additional attack. There's a 50% chance to become a super attack. That is also completely fine. I'm here for that as well. Maybe sprinkle in some stats on top of it. And then when there's another future Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, he gets key +2, disable the enemy's guard when attacking. And then I also want guaranteed crit on that as well. Or, more importantly, a guaranteed additional. As I said, I want as many additional supers as possible, because he needs to stack as much as possible, because that 12 key additional is important to build up this guy's stats. We have Super EZAs for the remainder of the video, so again, we're just going to completely ignore the SA effect. A unit that, funny enough, did EZA in 2022, so I don't know how likely a Super EZA, not even a full 3 years later, will be. But I'm hopeful. Especially if we get a full Future Saga theme. They want to have an anniversary level celebration this time of year for the second time. Let's just go all out for it. Let's Super EZA Rose and Zamasu. So immediately recovers 15% HP at the start of turn. We could up those numbers, say 20%. Starts with key +2. We could up that as well. Has defense of 50%. Again, we can up that, give attack and defense as well. For every 3 turns from the character's entry, gets key +2, defense of 50%, and guards all attacks. I want to make the guard guaranteed no matter what. Don't attach it to this. Make the guaranteed guard here. Have it at all times, especially with the current meta we're in, and again, how difficult enemies are and how hard they're hitting. Maybe sprinkle in some attack in here as well. And then for 3 turns, maybe he has, or maybe they have dodge chance or damage reduction. The whole point of them early on is they're supposed to be beefy. And I want to retain some of that beefiness while also losing it. So maybe we have like 40, 50, 60% damage reduction in here for 3 turns. Maybe let's up this to like 4, 5, maybe even 6. Or keep it at 3 turns. If it is 3, give him like a big 60% damage reduction here, guaranteed guard here, And then when attacking with 12 or more ki, we've got 100% attack. Maybe we could also have some defense in there. Maybe we can also have some crit chance, something like that, maybe an additional. And then maybe also when attacking with 24 ki, we could then get some more extra attack added on, or attack and defense. And then maybe your attacks are effective against all types. Maybe we have guaranteed crit. Maybe there's an additional in there as well. And then for every attack received, you get ki +1 up to 4 and attack and defense of 30% up to 120. Maybe we could just update these numbers ever so slightly, and then maybe build up some damage reduction. At least that way early on within those 3 turns, Rose and Zamasu are incredibly tanky, but then they retain some damage reduction as well. And maybe it builds up to, say, I don't know, 20-30%. That way they have a little bit, and it kind of helps them later on in the fight while not being too overpowered. Next, we have the Int Sword of Hope Trunks. Another super EZA. There are so many potential good super EZAs we could get from a Future Saga theme. EZA'd all the way back in 2020, so 5 years ago. So actually quite likely we could see him super EZA in this celebration. And considering how old his EZA is, look how basic and barren the passive looks. It doesn't look like a whole chapter in a book because of how old it is. So they could actually do a whole lot when it comes to his super EZA. Already has a very nice SA effect of buffing allies' attack by 30% for 1 turn. Specifically superclass allies. Of course, the rest of it will not be touched because SA effects do not change. He does change strength key spheres to int key spheres. I beg you just change this to random key spheres to int key spheres. He's very orb dependent, so just make him an int orb changer on all orb changes. Starting with some base attack and defense. Doesn't need to be a lot because he does gain attack and defense per key sphere obtained, which is 20% here. I've seen some units pick up some crazy amounts of attack and defense per orb, so we could easily update those quite a lot. And then when there is a Realm of Gods category enemy, which we could easily see a very difficult Realm of Gods category enemy because of the GDC, he will randomly change key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres. Keep that as well. Maybe also add in something else like crit chance, something, maybe dodge chance. I want to give him something to make him usable in difficult content. So maybe with that being said, we could also give him some like base dodge of like 50-70%. Maybe make him a dodge or die unit type situation. Then with 7 or more key spheres obtained, attacks are effective against all types. So at least that way, we could add in maybe with 3 or 4 more key spheres obtained. Maybe we could give him an extra attack and defense by X amount. Maybe we could also give him some extra dodge chance, maybe some crit chance, something like that. Essentially what I want from this Trunks is dodge or die, quite a bit of damage, defense is enough to basically tank normals in the game, because that's kind of a standard nowadays. Then with Tech Fusion Zamasu, he's literally the extreme version-ish of Sword of Hope Trunks, just not very dependent on orbs. And another one who EZA'd all the way back in 2020, so 5 years ago. So another super EZA that could definitely happen. Has a similar SA effect of raising extreme class allies attack by 30% for 1 turn, which combine that with a brand new Rose Zamasu reversible exchange fusion Zamasu unit. That would be very nice indeed, especially like from a slot 3 unit. Basic effect, change that, attack and defense, give him like a chunky 180, 200% attack and defense, start a turn key, superclass allies attack minus 10%. That can stay there, that's neither here nor there. Maybe lower it by 20, 30 instead. Superclass enemies attack and defense. Maybe we can lower this again, you know, maybe 30%, 40% decrease. This is also on allies. I just realized maybe that could just stay the same actually. Don't increase that, or maybe just get rid of it completely. And then Realm of Gods category extreme class allies will get 50% defense. This is also very nice. So maybe for Realm of Gods category extreme class allies, you could maybe give key +1 defense of 50-60%, maybe even more if we want to be generous. And then maybe for just extreme class allies in general, maybe they get, you know, attack by 50-60% with key +1. That way, extreme class Realm of Gods category units then also gain a total of 50-60% attack and defense and key +2. Or maybe change that so it's a bit more of a wider variety, and say we have Realm of Gods extreme class category units with the brand new category that we introduced with the brand new Rose Zamasu Fusion Zamasu we get for GDC, and then combine the supports together. But in terms of an EZA like this, there's so many routes you can go down because it's so bare bones. You can give him extra stats by performing super attacks on super attack. You can give him guard, you can give him damage reduction, you can give him dodge. but make him a very good slot 3 unit, especially with the support on his SA effect and in his passive, especially when it comes to the brand new category that is more likely coming. But they could go many different routes with this. So as I said, I'm spitballing with this. You could give him some additional, you could give him crit. As I said, you can give him guard, you can give him damage reduction, you can give him dodge, which I probably think is a good idea for a slot 3 unit. Maybe give him a ton of dodge with maybe some crit chance, have him do some good damage while being a very good slot 3 support. I don't know. As I said, with a basic passive like that, you have options. The Int Blue Vegeta is another one. A very nice SA effect. 50% attack and defense for 3 turns is very nice. Considering SA effects are unchanged on Super EZAs, I really do like that. But definitely needs to update this on the basic effect. I want to see attack and defense. I want to see a lot of it start a turn key. Then he supports Realm of Gods Superclass allies with 50% defense. Again, maybe just like Fusion Zamasu. Superclass Realm of Gods category allies get 50% defense, 1 key. And then the brand new category on the Superclass side of things, whoever the Dokkan Fest or Carnival LR is going to be, he could then give that a category key +1, 50%, 60% attack. Then combine them together, whoever belongs to both categories is beefed up quite a lot. Extreme class enemies attack and defense -20%, and then when attacking an extreme class enemy, 50% chance to stun. Again, with such a bare bones passive, you can go multiple ways of giving this guy dodge, guard, damage reduction, crit chance, additionals. You have choice. Whether or not Dokkan decides to do one or the other would be entirely up to them. We then have Fizz VB. Again, this will be unchanged, but with multiple additionals, we could easily fix that and beef him up. This needs to be increased. Start a turn key, way more attack and defense. Has an additional that has a 30% chance to become a super attack. Change that at least 50, 70%. I kind of want to go balls to the wall with this and make him stupid, because the whole point of this guy back in the day was just all attached to his additional supers. So I want to up this to 50 or 70%. He then has a 70% chance of launching another additional attack. There's a 30% chance to become a super attack. I kind of want to make this additional guaranteed to happen, but the super attack chance become 50 or 70 again. Then receiving a normal attack, he does have 40% damage reduction temporarily in counters. Bump this up. Normals, at least 60, maybe 80%. And then give him a base damage reduction that applies to super attacks, but maybe like 30 or 40% as well. Because then that way, when it comes to normals, he's tanking every normal in the game for nothing. But then when it comes to super attacks, he needs a bit extra to defend himself against. You know, you don't want him to be a glass cannon and be easily breakable against any super attack in the game. So maybe you give him a bit extra base damage reduction as well, rather than just damage reduction on normals. The damage reduction normals could be incredibly high, but then give him damage reduction, as I said, in general. That way, maybe he can kind of defend himself against supers. But this is another one. An EZA that came out literally also in 2020. All these EZAs coming out in 2020. They could do a lot of things with this. But if we take any Vegito's kind of passives, a lot of damage reduction, ton of super attacks, counters, beef him up. I don't want a Super Vegito type situation where he's great against normals, but terrible against everything else and gets killed by everything. I want that. And I want him to be able to survive super attacks as well. I don't need double digits, but, you know, a couple 100k, and I'll be happy with that. And then finally, we have AGL Rose. I want all the extreme type love. So once again, we're going to ignore the SA effect, but greatly raising defense by 50% is actually pretty nice. Another EZA that came out in 2020. So we have an incredibly empty looking passive. And once again, Dokkan could just do what they want, depending on what they are doing for the Dokkan Fest and Carnival LRs. And I want this guy to basically support or be that missing piece for whatever that team needs. So starter turn key, way more starter turn attack, along with defense as well. Extreme class ally support of key +3, 30% attack. Let's up this to say 40, 50, maybe 60%. And then maybe extreme class allies that belong to the brand new category will then also get key and attack and defense, or maybe remove the key because that'll be quite a lot. Then for every attack received, gets defense of 30% up to 180. That's actually very nice. Maybe add in some attack in there as well. He's going to need something to make him competable. Maybe add in some additionals as well. Maybe when there is a Realm of Gods category ally on the turn, maybe extreme class Realm of Gods category ally on the turn, he has a chance of an additional super. Maybe make it guaranteed and then a chance in his basic effect, like 50, 70. That way he can pad out his defense here and really flesh himself out for the turn. And that all depends what he's going to get in his passive. Is he going to get some crit chance? Is he also going to get some damage reduction, guard, dodge? Again, it just depends what Dokkan wants to do, because his EZA was so bare bones, because we're now 5 years down the line. They could kind of go any which way with this AGL Rose. As I said to you guys, the EZA potential for this GDC, whether it's part 1 or full Future Saga themed for the entire celebration, is crazy. 9 possible EZAs and Super EZAs, just focusing on the Goku Black Arc and major EZAs and Super EZAs alone, is nuts. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments of my choices. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree? Would you really want to see some of these? And who else would you consider EZAing or Super EZAing for a Future Saga themed global Dokkan celebration? Let me know. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.